From Wied Politics in Madison, you're listening to Capital Chats.
Hello, everybody. This is Kate Morton with Wied Politics here with a Capital Chats podcast brought to you by Spectrum. Today, I'm here in the office with my colleague Audrey Thiebert to talk about her interview with new U.S. Representative Tony Wied. He's a Republican from De Pere. So, Audrey, what are some of the things that you guys talked about in your conversation?
Yeah, thanks, Kate. I talked with Rep. Wied about his priorities in office, both while he serves the rest of former Rep. Mike Gallagher's term and the new term in January. He also talked a bit about the Trump presidency and his cabinet picks, as well as President Biden's pardon of his son Hunter Biden this past week.
Great, Audrey. Well, let's hear what Representative Wied had to say.
Rep. Wied, thank you so much for joining Cap Chats.
Well, it's great to be here. Thank you.
So, Rep. Wied, now that you're in office, serving the rest of Representative Mike Gallagher's term and then a new term starting in January, what are some of your priorities in office?
Well, the first priority for me in being sworn in on November 12th was to get an office set up in our district, develop and put together a strong team with great customer service skills and that sort of thing. And we do. We set that up. It was opened up right away on November 12th. And I think we have an amazing team. And so we're available for people to call with any help that they need, from their congressman right here in District 8. And also then the next thing was to get a very strong team. And I did this also at the same time right in Washington and making sure that we have a real good leadership team with right in our office in Washington. But what I continue to hear, throughout our district and throughout the campaign was, it's all about the economy. And I continue to hear that inflation has just been hurting people. People have been taking it on the chin. They haven't seen this type of inflation for 40 years. And that's really been a problem. And that's something that I think we need to tackle right away. I certainly agree with President Trump. We need to get our economy back on track. And, that's a main thing for me. We need to stop the reckless spending that's causing this inflation. And I looked at inflation as it's a tax, and it really hurts the poor. It hurts those on fixed incomes. And we need to get that under control. So that's day one. That's the first thing. That's what I'm very excited about. In addition to our border, and safety and security there, and just safety and security around the world and stopping the chaos that we see around the world too. And I'm really excited about this in January, and I'm very excited to get to work. I think the first 100 days is going to be a very special and meaningful time.
Yeah, great. And are there any committees that you hope to serve on?
I'm open to doing what's right here for this district. We are the number one, we're the number 3 congressional district for dairy farms, and we make a lot of cheese here in District 8. And so I'd be very interested in working on the Agriculture Committee. I'm also very interested in things like energy and commerce and transportation and infrastructure. So, those are things that are very important also to this district. If you look at transportation, there's many great companies, logistics and trucking companies, shipping with the Great Lakes. So, that's the type of thing that I'm interested in. But again, I'll do anything to help people right here in District 8 and help the country.
Yeah, and sort of shifting to talk a little bit about compromise across the aisle. Do you think that there is a mandate under the new Trump presidency, or do you think there is a sort of necessity to work with Democrats because of, how close the popular vote is, just that sort of compromise? And sort of what's your approach to working across the aisle with Democrats?
Well, I think you could look at this as both. This is a team sport. It's a House of Representatives. It's 435 members. And I do believe it was a mandate. I think people want the policies of President Trump. They're very frustrated with this current administration as it relates to the economy and safety and security at the border. Just look at the chaos around the world with regional wars and things like that going on. I mean, that is stuff that we need to deal with right now. We need strong leadership. And people voted for that. And that's important that and that's what I ran on too. And that's what I want to bring to the table is solutions to all of those. But as it relates to, working with others, yeah, you absolutely do. And I think the best predictor of future behavior is your past. I've been in a small business my entire life. You have to work with everybody. Maybe people that you may not, agree with on things, but you have to work with others. I've introduced myself and I want to develop a good relationship with those on the Democratic side, whether that's here in Wisconsin's delegation with Gwen Moore or Mark Pocan and meeting them and introducing myself. In others, even on the incoming class of those that are coming in, met with many that are on the Democratic side, and again, just develop friendships, get to know them on a personal level. You may not agree on maybe anything policy wise, but I think it's important to have, that respectful nature towards each other, and that's what I'll bring to the table.
Yeah, definitely. That's great to hear. And then moving to talk a little bit more about the President-elect Trump's cabinet. I was wondering if you had a response so far to his pick, specifically Matt Gaetz for Attorney General, Pete Hegseth for Defense Secretary, and Kash Patel for FBI Director. Those are the names that have gotten a little bit more pushback, and so I was wondering like what you're thinking about his cabinet picks so far.
Well, I think right now people want strong leadership. They have clearly voted in President Trump to be our commander in chief, the next president of the United States, and people trust his judgment. And I trust his judgment. And I think he has a right to pick those that he feels are going to do the best job to bring this country, get this country back on track and move forward. And all three, I think, would be great candidates, great people to be running those respective agencies. Right now, we need reform. We see it's out of control. These agencies have been out of control, and we've seen them be weaponized. And there is a lot of reform that needs to happen. And I think all three would be great choices.
Yeah, and you mentioned reform, and you've definitely touched on this. But I was wondering, like, what exactly like you want to see and hope to see change under the new Trump presidency.
I think right now we just need to get back to having a constitutional republic. We follow the Constitution. I think these agencies have gotten to be too big. They're out of control, and I believe they've weaponized against even political opponents, and we saw that against President Trump. So I think we need good, strong leaders. We need President Trump right now. We need those that he feels are going to be the right fit for reform, but they need to get smaller. They need to get more constitutional, follow the Constitution. They need to fit within it. And we just continue to see the bloatedness and again, the out of control agencies. And that's why I'm so excited about President Trump and those that he is picking to run those agencies.
Yeah, and something you talked about, at least like during your debate with your opponent, Kristen Lyerly, was sticking to your job as a member of U.S. House of Representatives, which would be, you said, to present spending bills and oversee agencies at a federal level. Could you talk to me a bit about your approach to this and how you're going to focus on those things specifically?
Well, that is our job in the House of Representatives, and that we have a balanced, a government. And being a constitutional republic, there's three branches of government. There's the executive, there's legislative, and judicial branch. And I'm, of course, in the legislative branch. But then we're all, to bring that down further, we're in the House of Representatives. I'm in the lower house, they call that, and of course, the Senate is the upper house. But again, our job is to present spending bills, is to oversee these agencies and to place votes that are in accordance with the Constitution, right, and to what's best for this country. So I'm really looking forward to it. The House of Representatives is really a team sport. It requires consensus of 435 to get anything done.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think the people in this country have voted for reform. They voted for a smaller government, one that will actually be good leadership, and that's what I'm going to promote and make sure that we do a good job of.
Yeah, and shifting gears a little bit, yesterday, President Biden pardoned his son, Hunter Biden. I was wondering if you had a reaction to that at all.
Well, we've seen, unfortunately, what the Biden-Harris administration has, weaponized these agencies, and we see with the Department of Justice that, what happened through this administration and going after a political opponent like President Trump, and all of the issues that happened even during President Trump's tenure as president, even with his son, being called for treason and congressional testimony. And, we see all of those types of things that, again, it was really weaponized with the Biden administration. And that's really unfortunate. And so to me, it's despicable. I think, he's saying one thing and doing another, and it's really unfortunate. And I think there's definitely corruption from the president. And again, I'm just looking forward to January 20th and getting this country back on track.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for joining us on Cap Chats. That was U.S. Representative Tony Wied, representing Wisconsin's 8th Congressional District. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me.
All right, Audrey, thank you for sharing that interview. In the meantime, if our listeners want to hear more about the goings-on of Wisconsin's Congress members, they can subscribe to our DC Wrap newsletter. But for now, I'm Kate Morton.
And I'm Audrey Thiebert.
Thanks for listening to Wied Politics Capital Chats podcast brought to you by Spectrum.